Yo, what up, everybody? Going into a part two for the Vaalmonica deck profile and kind of play through gameplay. Wanted to do a couple different things here, kind of talk about, core strategy and what the purpose of the deck is, and just talk about some simple combos. I'm also going to go into a solo mode, show a test hand, and then we'll move into some gameplays. I think I have about 4 replays to show from the World Championship qualifier. But yeah, so we'll get right into it here. There was a small tweak made. I cut the Beyond the Pendulum and just added a second copy of Duralume. This card is your crux for doing an OTK, so I just thought it'd be better to have a second copy of it. And yeah, so just to kind of get it out of the way too, you got to know that any type of pendulum deck in this game is just really weak in engine end boards. So running the Baguska and the Abyss Dweller is kind of a target against the current meta. This deck was made to be able to climb ladder and to do it efficiently going first and second. So it's got a lot of hand traps, it's got an oppressive end board, and that's just the main core strategy for it. It's not my typical way that I like to play, just sitting on Baguska, but I wanted to make this really pure in the beginning and try to figure out what type of engines I'll add to it later. Things that are really good to add to it would be things like a small math mech engine. You could add just a couple cards into the extra deck and a couple cards in the main deck, and then in combo you would be able to go into an Allenbert, get into a super factorial line, all those things, and that would be a really strong first turn end board. You could just run it pure blind second OTK strategy. So a lot of different options. I'm gonna go through in some of the games, I'll break it down in the combo profile in the opening like solo mode. I don't get a good hand, but it's a showcase of just how to route a hand. But the true going second strategy that I like to run is, if you have the right hand, you can set up an OTK routing your counters, and you'll be able to also have follow-up in the event that they have some sort of floaters to stop the OTK. But yeah, so for this deck here, you just got to know that you're trying to get your counters on Diamono and Angelo, and you need 3 counters on Diamono to go into Zebufera, and then you need 3 counters on Angelo to go into Duralume. Zebufera is going to be your guy that you want to end on for interaction on the enemy turn, and then Duralume is going to be the type of person that you use for OTK. He's going to let you pop monsters in the main monster zone, and then he's also going to be able to attack 3 times, or she, I should say. I think it's like a harpy lady. But yeah, so that's the main strategy for the deck here. All of your spell cards are going to either let you gain LP or take LP. The take effect is going to add a counter to the Diamono, and then the gain LP is going to add a counter to the Angelo. But yeah, so we'll go into the gameplays in the solo mode here for you to kind of get a better feel for it, and then at the end there will be a card by card that just goes through it, so you can see each one of the cards individually in case you don't know what some of them are just by glancing at them. But yeah, so here we'll move into the first gameplay. Okay, so going into our solo mode here, wanted to showcase a hand real quick. So this is a typical hand. Now this hand would be one that kind of dies to an effect failure or an imperm. So just be aware of that, because you drew 3 hand traps. But going second this hand would be pretty crazy in that kind of sense. But so right here, what we would do is we would use our field spell. Field spell is going to search for one of our scale cards. So we're going to add a Diamono. We're going to use the Diamono effect and then pitch the Celatrice. So then now we set up our scales, and then Celatrice is going to activate in the graveyard, come back to hand, and then we still have our normal summon. So we'll go ahead and normal summon the Celatrice. Celatrice is going to let us search, so if they interrupted this right now, we would be down bad. But if it didn't get interrupted and we go through, best thing in this situation is going to be to search for Skelta. Skelta is going to help us kind of continue the combo here. So we're going to use Skelta to search for Inventare. So all of them are going to have two effects, either gain LP or take LP. Take LP is going to go on Diamono, gain LP is going to go on Angelo. So we're going to take LP and we're going to add a card to hand. In this case, we're going to go for the Inventare. So with the Inventare, we're going to use that now to search. So the second effect, if you control a non-pendulum Vaalmonica monster, you can take two pendulums, add one to hand. So first one's going to hand, and then second one's going on top of the extra deck. And then now we can perform a pendulum. The pendulum's going to come out and we summon. So now these can copy effects in the graveyard. So first we're going to use this to copy the Skelta for another search. And then right here now we're going to search the Versare, because with Versare we can pitch another card to the graveyard with the take effect, and that's going to get us our third counter. So this right here, send one from the deck to the graveyard, and then right now, you could send a trap card, and the trap card would be one that you're going to use on the next turn. So in this case, we are going to have a Baguska, so we're going to send this one so that we can either destroy a field spell or bounce a link back to the extra deck. So we're going to set up this as a copy effect, and then right now, we're also going to use this, and we're going to copy this to excavate. So we're going to gain LP, and then boom, we top deck to Skelta. So now next turn we have follow-up. So this is really big. We're going to we go up into the Hollow Heathen first, and then we're going to overlay these two into the Baguska, and that is going to be your standard turn one combo. And we also have whatever hand traps are backing us up. So right here, we're going to end on, Floodgate, yay, woo, Baguska, just stop all monster effects that aren't link monsters. We're going to be able to bounce a link monster or target pop, and then we're going to have an imperm for another link monster if they have it, and then we're going to be able to ash whatever they have. So pretty solid game plan here, and that's where you would kind of pass. And then after you kind of stop them from playing their turn, the next set of ideas is going to be, let's let that go through. Next set of ideas is going to be, okay, how do we get 3 counters on Angelo? And once we get the 3 counters, we're kind of good to go, so we'll let him kind of get his guys out. They're all floodgated. This will be good to just kind of watch, because this is what happens if they build a board but they can't use any of their effects really. Is eventually, they're going to Raigeki. We'll let that go through. And this board here is protected by Raigeki. So that is one of the wonderful things. So we're just going to go ahead, use this. And I'm going to stop that with the imperm just because it's in the imperm column, So classic showcase of kind of what you want to do with this type of board. So right here now, in the end phase, we're going to use this to copy, and then we're going to pop this one that just got set, and it's a Raigeki break, so it's a good thing we popped it. But yep, so there we go. We've got 2 counters. We've got a Skelta and a Versare. This is going to go off, pitch Celatrice. We're going to get Celatrice back to hand. So that's the synergy with Baguska, is you're pretty much just always recycling all of your stuff. So right now, just because it's all we need to do, is we're going to go into this. We're going to place the Nibiru on the bottom of the deck, draw 2, drew another Nibiru, so that's huge. We're going to go ahead and take control, and then this guy's going to change to attack. We're going to just overlay this guy straight into the Duralume, and then what we will want to do here is we're gonna proc this. It's gonna save because of the back row, which is fine, and then we're gonna use this to get rid of the 3 counters, and then we still have OTK, mainly because... Oh, actually, I forgot I can't attack with this guy. So I could have definitely OTK'd here with this hand, if you get the picture, if I would have just gone into any of the Cellatrice line. But yeah, so when I Snatch Steal this guy, he can't take it. Another option would have been, instead of excavating, would have been to try to just get more, searches out, and then I could get into something for a back row removal. But yeah, it really just kind of showcased what you would do to kind of get into the OTK afterwards. You just kind of make sure you calculate lethal better than I did right there. So, but yeah, so we'll move on into the game replays, and I kind of break them down, what's going on during them as well, so you get a better idea of kind of how I'm routing some of these hands. Okay, moving into game number 1 here. So this one, we've got an interesting hand. I won the coin flip, chose to go first. And with this hand here, we have a lot of options, but having Skelta and Versare in hand is super huge. So we're going to be able to do a lot with that, especially with the field spell. So right now, one thing that's super important to also keep in mind is we drew one of the trap cards. Most decks where you can do a lot of searching and pitching, it would seem like it's rough to draw one, but I actually prefer to draw one. And I'll kind of explain it deeper in the combo here. But so opening up, we start with the field spell for a search. We're going to grab one of our scales. Use the scale effect to pitch Cellatrice, and then that's going to get Cellatrice back to hand for free, and then we can normal summon. So this is going to be our check for a hand trap. He does have an Effect Veiler. So the Effect Veiler is going to stop Cellatrice, which isn't too big of a deal, but since we have Skelta and Versare in hand. So we'll use the Skelta. We're going to take damage, and we're going to search for Inventare. We're then going to use Versare to pitch a copyable spell. In this case, I ended up pitching the Disharmonia. I like this card. It's pretty versatile, where you can add one of your banished back to hand. So at the end of copying here and you banish a spell, you're going to want to add a follow-up for the next turn into hand. So that's kind of why I pitched that in that case. And then we're going to use the effect of Inventare to go ahead and get our, pendulum set up so that we can pendulum summon. We get the 2 angel and the demon. And then we're going to copy and then search the other trap cards. So now I have both trap cards that'll be live. There we go. And then we're going to copy the effect to excavate, and we just excavate through every hand trap in the game possible, and then get another Versare. So this is really nice, because now what we'll be able to do is kind of end on our end board here. We go into our Link 1 that we have the demon counter for, and then we go into our Baguska. We set up both of our traps, and then we pass. So this is a crazy board right here. We're going to be able to either pop a spell or trap, like a field spell, or, bounce a card back to hand. We're going to be able to either negate an effect monster, which isn't too big of a deal right now because of Baguska kind of floodgating, but you could save this for if they go into a link. And then the other option would be to make my Vaalmonica cards untargetable so they couldn't out my link. But after these go to the graveyard, I would be able to copy one of them again off of the link here, and that's a huge, addition to being able to use both your trap cards and then use another one for a third interrupt along with the Baguska. And he just sits here for a long time and then just kind of scoops, because it's a really hard board to crack. But yeah, so that was game number 1. It's kind of like a pseudo FTK, really, if they don't have the right hand. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and move on into game number 2. Here is game number 2 loading in, and this one is, I believe, yeah, we're going second, so they chose to go first. We have a good opening hand and some hand traps, so we'll kind of see what's going on. Looks like it's a Math Mech deck. He's going to go ahead and normal summon Sigma, and then link that off into an Almirage, which is pretty big sign that he's got a rough hand. And then now that he's used that to reborn it, it's a really big sign that he has a rough hand. So he goes into Splash Mage. I'm going to Effect Veiler the Splash Mage because Sigma's not going to be able to reborn itself. So whatever he kind of goes into now is going to be something that he has to special summon out of hand. The Talents is interesting, but we're going to have to Ash that for sure. And then we're just kind of hoping that the last 2 cards in hand are pretty dead for him. So he sets 1 pass. That's a big indication that's probably either a called by or some sort of imperm, leaning more towards imperm because I feel like he would have called by my Ash. But so now we're going to start routing, and main thing here is, you know, we opened our usual full combo where we opened Skelta, we had Versare, right? And we're still taking damage because the take damage effects are our best searchers. And if we do this correctly, we're going to be able to route and get counters on both the Angel and the Demon, and then we're going to be able to go into a OTK line. And the purpose of this line right here is that we're trying to set up for the OTK, but also have a fallback for the following turn. So as we get deeper into this line, I'll kind of break it down. But, you know, we use Skelta, we're searching for Inventare or Versare, whichever one we're missing. Then we use the Versare. This is going to give us a counter and get us the Celatrice from the deck to hand, excuse me. And once we get the Celatrice up right here, we get impermed. So even at this point, it seems like it's rough. Like, you don't have much else that you can do, but what we're going to do is go for our Pendulum Search. So we're going to get Diamono and Angelo. We're going to Pendulum Summon. And then once they hit the board here, we use this to copy the Skelta. We use that to search for Disharmonia. Now, Disharmonia is going to be huge, but we use this to start getting our counters on the Angelo. And what we're copying here is going to be the Excavate. So the Excavate's also hopefully going to help us. And it hits huge. It gives us one of the traps. So right here, we bring the Skelta back to hand. And it kind of went quick, but if you notice, the way Disharmonia works, you place 1 resonance counter on any card in the Pendulum Zone, and then you apply the effect. So this 1 card, if you use the gain LP, is worth 2 counters. So in your standard combo, you're getting 3 counters on Diamono, and then you're getting 1 counter on the Angelo. But if you get Disharmonia into hand, you're then going to get 3 counters because you place a counter on it, and then you gain LP, target one of your banish cards, so we banish the Skelta to search for the Disharmonia. So this 1 card is going to recycle our Skelta back, and it's going to set up 3 counters on the Angelo. So then that lets us go into the Duralume. So then now we're going to be able to pop his field and then attack 3 times, and that's 7,500 damage. So just 1 body gives us lethal. And the flip side of this now is we go into battle phase, we go for lethal. Say they had some sort of effect where they can reborn or they float or something like that, and we don't get the lethal damage off. We then go into main phase 2. We can still overlay this into a Baguska. We could overlay this directly into a Hollow Heathen, but we could also wait on their turn and try to do the battle phase swap, and that would help as well. So a bunch of different options for follow-up. We've got the Skelta, we've got the trap card, so it's really, really a good place where this guy's going to have 2 cards in hand, and I have a Baguska and my full combo set up if I couldn't lethal him. But yeah, so right here, we're going to pop, then we remove the 3 counters, we go straight into battle phase, attack 3 times, and then attack with Diamono for game. So that's the OTK line. That's going second. That's why you just jam as many hand traps in here as you can. because you're just trying to set up wins that way, or you're trying to essentially floodgate them out of the second turn with Baguska when you go first, and then OTK with your angel line on third turn. But it's up to how many times they try to stop you, and sometimes the games just drag out because they keep interrupting you a lot. But this game, I mean, this deck in particular, can play through a lot of interruptions. If depending on the hand, some hands just die to one interruption, but I mean that's every deck in the game. So, but yeah, we'll move on to the next game here. All right, moving on to game number 3. And for game number 3 here, we've definitely got an interesting situation where I'm going second again. I've got Maxi and Ash, so pretty good hand, but the guy just kind of normal summons good old Patchy. So we already know we're going to lose our battle phase. So off the top deck here, we've decided we're going to use the field spell, search for Celatrice, full combo basically. We use one of the scales to set up and pitch. We get the Celatrice back to hand. Celatrice gets normal summoned. Now, right here, we're just going to search for the Skelta. We're going to use the Skelta to start setting up our, rest of our combo. And we're going to use the inventory that we searched to set up more bodies for the Pendulum Summon. We go into battle phase, beat over the Patchy, and the scale actually helped us not sacrifice the Celatrice. So with the Diamono having a counter on it, he lost 100 attack. And then now we get the extra bodies out. I decided to summon the Diamono because thinking if I go into my Hollow Heathen with Baguska, getting an extra body on the field is kind of worth it because the 2100 defense is fairly large. But yeah, so right here, we're going to copy the Skelta, search for Versare, use the Versare to pitch, and then that gets us our 3 counters, and we pitched our trap card. So now we have 1 in hand and 1 in the graveyard. So we're going to be able to copy the 1 in the graveyard, use the 1 on the field, double trap, and we're going to go ahead and copy this just to try to search for more follow-up. We're going to get the Excavate effect, and we end up getting another Inventory, which is pretty good for the following turn. But yeah, so here we go. We go into the Hollow Heathen. We link, we XYZ these two into Baguska, and then we set the trap pass. And then now it turns out he ends up putting up Lost World. So I'm like, okay, I guess he wasn't just like a stun deck, and uses the Harpy Feather Duster. Because I have Hollow Heathen up, I keep everything safe, just remove the counters. And then right here, uses double Evolution Pill. I'm going to Ash that. And then off the double Evolution Pill, he's going to summon Rex from the Banishment Zone. So I'm going to chain Maxi at that point. And I think that ends up being a little bit too much for him. Which, I mean, as it should be. It's got a Baguska, Maxi. I've got, you know, another interruption with my copy effect. So if he went into some sort of link play or anything like that, like I don't think they have very many link plays, honestly, but you know, I could just bounce it back to the extra deck. But yeah, so pretty solid going second, even under Patchy. You still have some good plays. But yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to the last game. All right, and here is the final game in the, you know, couple that I did here in the World Championship series going on right now. Interesting hand, going second again. Looks like it's against Chimera. I'm going to Ash Blossom the Mirror Sword Knight. That's the best use of it possible, really. And then I'm just going to kind of hope he doesn't have much extender, but he does end up having the talents. And then that's going to get him into at least a fusion summon. So right here, he's going to get a fusion, goes into a Mood Dragon, and then he's going to be able to search follow-up for the next turn. So he gets the Coatl. Going to use Coatl to search for another Mirror Sword Knight, and then that's going to be the end of his turn, probably. Set 1. So, decent hand for me here on this side. What you want to do in this case, okay, I'm under max C, which is going to be rough. So main thing is like trying to do this as minimal amount of summons as possible, and then also kind of what do you do with this type of hand? Do you have none of your scales? You have none of your monsters? Like, what do you do? So in this type of situation, Imperm is completely useless to me. So I'm going to use the field spell to search for a scale, and then I'm going to use the scale to set up and pitch the Imperm. And because we have Versare, this is just like a foolish to send Celatrice, and then we get Celatrice. So we're going to go for it. We get the Diamono. We use Diamono, pitch Imperm. We set up the scale. We go for Versare. We get a counter. We also get Celatrice out. So Celatrice comes to hand. We're going to normal summon. This is where we're going to check the Imperm, which we pretty much know it is because otherwise he would have just called by the Celatrice when we sent it and activated. Excuse me, but yeah, so we're gonna use our Inventare, and I mean this is just kind of it, where if you have the extenders in hand, Celatrice just eats all the interaction for you all the time. But so here we go, they draw 1 off of that, not too bad. He gets an effect Veiler, so we're really stuck here not being able to go into much else. So I'm gonna set up the you know, draw 2 just to see if we get anything. We go into a max C and a crossout. I think I forget to set the crossout at the end here, so just know that would have definitely been the better play, but I didn't care too much about it. So we only let him draw 3 cards really, or I'm sorry, 2 cards really, and we set up a Baguska with a 2100, defense line. Standby phase, we send Celatrice, get Celatrice back for free, go into attack mode. Now we're going to use Celatrice to search. It gets ashed. Luckily, we did draw a Versare. So the Versare is going to let us at least combo a little bit here. So I'm going to excavate. We hit the Disharmonia, which is just insane. So as you know, 1 counter with a Disharmonia is full OTK, so we steal the Edge Imp Chain, we go into our Duralume, the Heathen Hollow, the flipped around version, and then that's a, remove 3 counters, go into battle phase, we pop his guy, hit for 5,000, and then we have 3 bodies on the field for lethal, so really big, routing at the end there. But yeah, so that was game number 4.
Artificial love, we just make it up, 'cause reality will never be good enough. And even if it was, we just mess it up, 'cause we already lost, addicted to the rush. I never meant to fall. All I wanted was a touch of artificial love. We just make it up, 'cause reality will never be good enough. And even if it was, we just mess it up. Artificial love. Artificial love. Artificial love.